saying that you were, how about that move? Anthony Edwards put that one on the highlight reel with all the rest.
10 of 15 and 6 of 10 from beyond the arc as Morant hammers it. Wow. Ja Morant.
Anthony Edwards and Ja Morant are two of the most exciting players to watch in the NBA today. And that's exactly why we're going to dive into the debate between who's the better player right now. This isn't going to be an easy one, so we got a lot of ground to cover before we can really come to a solid conclusion at the end of the video. Now, so far in these guys' respective careers, we've seen Ja Morant play more games than Anthony Edwards has. Morant has suited up for 189 compared to Edwards' 146 at the time of this video. They each play a relatively similar number of minutes per game throughout those games. Morant averages 32.2 minutes of playing time, while Edwards gets slightly more at 33.2 minutes. Now, when it comes to total numbers, Morant has the edge in all of the offensive categories. He has 4,044 points, 1,354 assists, and 844 rebounds, all of which are better than Edwards' total. Ant has 2,966 points, 495 assists, and 692 rebounds. It's really the defensive categories that Edwards takes the lead in the total stats. Edwards has 5 more steals than Ja in all of those fewer games and has roughly 30 more blocks. Now, as for their per-game numbers, this is when the race gets really close. Edwards averages 20.4 points, 4.8 rebounds, 3.4 assists, and 1.3 steals a game. Morant, on the other side, averages 21.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 7.1 assists, and 1 steal a game. So Edwards has the edge in rebounds and steals, but Morant has the lead in points and assists. The numbers race is incredibly close between these two, and that makes it pretty hard for us to really determine who's technically the better statistical player. But one thing we can determine for sure is who's been better when the two go up against one another. Surprisingly, Edwards and Morant have already played against one another a total of 12 times up to this point. 6 of them have come in the regular season, while another 6 were in the postseason. In both the regular season games and the postseason games, Morant has come out on top. He and the Memphis Grizzlies have won 4 times in the regular season and 4 in the playoffs, taking 8 of the 12 total meetings over Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Edwards has been more impactful in the scoring department throughout these meetings, but Morant has dominated the game everywhere else. Ant averages 25 points, 3.8 rebounds, and 3.9 assists per game in these meetings against Morant, and meanwhile, Ja averages 21.4 points, but 6.8 rebounds and 8.8 assists. So it's pretty clear that Morant has gotten the better of Edwards in these head-to-head matchups. Not only has he won more games, but he's also done better everywhere on the floor except slightly fewer points. Even steals per game sees Morant averaging 1.3 against Edwards at 1.1. And it's not just these head-to-head matchups that make you feel like Ja might be the better player, as their accolades kinda shift towards Morant too. Ja has been named to a single All-Star game at this point in his career, and he's also made it onto an All-NBA team and was awarded the Rookie of the Year award. It doesn't seem like a lot at first glance, but the dude's only played 4 seasons in the league and he's really starting to come into his own. Now, as for Edwards, he's played 3 years and is yet to get pretty much any major accolade. He hasn't been an All-Star, he doesn't have any All-NBA selections, and he wasn't able to overcome LaMelo Ball in the Rookie of the Year race when he entered the league. So once again, we see Morant kinda creeping away with this one. Let's now take a quick break to cover some of the unreal highlights that we've seen out of Anthony Edwards and Ja Morant so far in their careers.
They swarm like a pack of wild dogs. Edwards right down the gut. And strikes again. And then the and one.
Under 2 minutes to go. The shake.
Gets the roll. Dazzling from Ja Morant. Ooh, they were lucky that wasn't turned over. Anthony Edwards, that time he does finish. Morant on the attack as Edwards swatted. They follow.
All right, we're not done yet though. We still got to cover a few different things before coming to a conclusion to who we think is the better player. Now we've got to dive into team success. It's hard to say that one player is definitively better than the other if their team has been historically bad, compared to if the other guy has multiple championships or something. So in Morant's case, he's had a massive impact on the Grizzlies' success. They missed the playoffs in his rookie season, but he wound up bringing them into the first round during his sophomore campaign. They were a low seed and lost in 5 games to the top-seeded Utah Jazz, but before the year started, this wasn't really a playoff-caliber team. Then, the most recent year saw them march all the way into the semifinals with a top seed in the Western Conference. They stormed through the Timberwolves and Edwards in 6 games before losing to the eventual champions, the Golden State Warriors, in 6. As for Edwards, the Wolves missed the postseason in his rookie year too, and the following campaign saw them march in and lose to the Grizzlies in the first round. Both of these guys missed the playoffs in their first year, but brought it back and lost in the first round during their sophomore campaign. So if Edwards could somehow get into the semifinals this year, then these two guys would be literally identical in the success category so far. And speaking of things these two are incredibly similar in, athleticism is something that both of these dudes have in bunches. I'm sure most of you have seen Edwards throw down some vicious dunks over the years, and if you leave him unattended on the court, one cut could cause you to getting tossed onto a poster. The same goes for Morant, as that guy can soar through the sky in both fast breaks and half-court situations. One of the most notable showcases of his athleticism came when he blocked a shot attempt from Avery Bradley, getting 2 hands on the ball and literally catching it as it went above the rim. It was something I've never seen before in my lifetime.
With the deflection against Bang! Oh, Morant! What an incredible...
It's safe to say there's no advantage in athleticism, as both these dudes can throw it down with ease. Now, due to these guys both being listed as guards, we thought we'd better talk about their speed too. Each of these guys has had a few plays that have showcased just how fast they really are, but I think it would be hard to say that Edwards is the faster player when compared to Morant. Ja is unbelievably difficult to stop when he's got the ball in his hands because he uses his quickness to get right past you. Edwards is definitely the more physical player when it comes to getting to the rim, and don't get me wrong, he's still a pretty fast guard himself, but he's also bigger with a wider frame. So, simply put, Morant is the quicker and shiftier point guard who has more explosiveness out of his bursts. Alright, and finally, we want to cover their basketball intelligence. Judging this off of their time in the NBA, I'd have to say that I think Morant has the better basketball IQ here. Edwards is a flashy, athletically gifted player who exudes confidence. However, he's usually the shooting guard for the Wolves, meaning that he doesn't really have to make the main decisions on the offense. The team really just gets the ball in his hands and tells him to score. Now, on the other side of this debate, Morant is the facilitator of an offense that has a lot of young talent. He's found a way to keep everybody motivated and always moves the ball to the open man. Even in late-game situations, Ja has looked like he has the game a little more under control compared to Edwards. So, now that we've been able to show you all a few highlights and cover a ton of different categories about these two players, it's about that time for us to make a decision. And I'd have to say that at this point in time, I think Ja Morant is the better player compared to Anthony Edwards. Both of these guys have ridiculously bright futures, by the way. It's just that Morant, he seems to be more complete one season deeper into his NBA career than Edwards is. So let us know down below in the comments if you think that Edwards might be the better player here, or if you agree with us that it should be Morant.